I know that the Feast of Our Lady of Fatima isn't until tomorrow, but you know, whenever there's an important event, we always prepare for it. You know that from the Church's liturgical year. We have Advent that prepares for Christmas. We have Lent that prepares for Easter. We have novenas of preparation, all these things. But even in our daily life, you know, if there's going to be something important like a birthday, or we just had Mother's Day, we want to do some preparations to be able to celebrate the correct way. So I'd like to just tell you a little bit about Our Lady of Fatima today in order that you can prepare for that feast day tomorrow. You know, in our modern secular world, I always chuckle at ways that the scientific rationalism isn't quite as rational as it would purport to be. You walk into a skyscraper and you look at the elevator buttons and you go to press the one for the 13th floor and you realize it doesn't exist. Why? Superstition. All this scientific rationalism, and they're too scared of bad luck to put a 13th floor in the building. 13 has an unlucky connotation, except for us. Because it was on the 13th of the month that Our Lady would appear to the children at Fatima, 3 little shepherd children. You know, an amazing way that heaven shows time and time again that to the little ones, to the humble, to the poor, God reveals himself and makes the most unlikely people his messengers. And so we come to this feast of Our Lady of Fatima tomorrow grateful for the ways that those 3 little children with no agenda of their own and not having already been swept up in the things of the world, their innocent hearts were able to receive the message of heaven. What was the message? A message of conversion, a conversion of heart. Turn back to the Lord. And it was actually a message in advance also of things that would happen. Our Lady would speak to the children about Russia will be converted. Well, at the time, Russia was a Christian nation. But it was the same year that the Russian Revolution was going to take place with atheistic communism. You know, all these things heaven weaves together, and sometimes only in hindsight can we see how they work together. It was on May the 13th in 1981 that Pope St. John Paul II was shot during a Wednesday audience in St. Peter's Square. And the assassin was a trained killer, and he knew he'd aimed the gun correctly. And he was amazed afterwards that John Paul II didn't die. And the doctors would tell us he came this close to dying. But John Paul II said, one hand pulled the trigger, another hand guided the bullet. He knew that Our Lady was watching over him, especially because that was the day of Our Lady of Fatima. You and I need to be confident that Our Lady's watching over us, that she is going to help us through the sufferings of this life. But she asks of us that we do something. You know, we always have to cooperate with God's grace. Sometimes we sit on like a bump on a log and expect God to do all these things for us. You and I are called to cooperate with God's grace. And so how can we do that? Well, Our Lady gave that message of conversion at Fatima. What do our lives look like? What are the areas where we have become complacent and instead we need conversion? Our Lady begged, pray, pray, pray the rosary. Do we pray? Are we people of prayer? Are our families, our homes, places of prayer? Or do we kind of check the box and move on with life? We need to look into that. We need to use this moment of pause from this pandemic to examine, to reprioritize and reorder our lives. How can we convert? How can we become more pleasing to God? You know, sometimes people will say, is this current crisis part of God's chastisement to the world? I don't know. But I do know it's an opportunity for us, with the unhealthy momentum that we had, to stop and to allow the grace of God to enter our hearts and to be closer to Him and to be His sign to the world. So Our Lady of Fatima is asking us to be converted and to offer our prayers. Let's do that. Let's take her message seriously. And tomorrow we have the great joy here at Holy Family of having the groundbreaking of our new facility, the construction ramping up. And so just to entrust to her care not only all of our individual needs, but also our parish, that she might help us to grow in love for God and for one another, and that she might bless this project that will allow us to do the Lord's work ever more abundantly. So stay close to Our Lady, and let's use this moment as a time of conversion. God bless you.